Hello, everyone. Before we get started, I just wanted to say that this was actually supposed to be one big episode, but it became super long, so we split it up into 2 episodes. This first part will be our discussion of the last 3 episodes of Bad Batch, because we got a week behind, and then in a few days, we will drop the second part of the episode where we will talk about Tales from the Empire's trailer, Star Wars Outlaws trailer, as well as our normal chat pack question. Thank you guys for your understanding, and we hope you enjoy the first part of this 2-part episode. Thank you always. May the Force be with you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, a Star Wars podcast. I am one of your hosts, Grayson.
I am the other host, Cole. Grayson, got a lot to talk about today, man.
Yes, we do. Thank you guys for bearing with us as we took last week off. Cole and I both had a lot of individual just life stuff happening, and so getting to recording was just not really viable. But thankfully we are back, and we are covering the most recent 3 episodes of Bad Batch, including Juggernaut of this week. And we're going to talk about the Tales of the Empire trailer, and we're going to talk about the Star Wars Outlaws trailer, and we'll wrap it up with a chat pack question. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that sounds fine. But one thing, Grayson, I'm noticing you're copying my drip today, man. Can you show me your shirt?
Mortis FM
Oh
shirts.
my god. Mortis FM shirts. These are not available for wholesale right
I was
now.
about to say, I was like, why are you making me do this?
Because people are gonna notice anyway. They're gonna go like, what the heck, Mortis FM? Yeah, right now these are crew only shirts, okay? But
if I gotta see how they hold up after multiple washes, see if they're up to snuff. Just because I'm testing out different companies and things like that. But that does lead me in to say we should probably lead off with this, that since our last episode, we have passed 200 subscribers, which is a big old milestone. I think we're at 210 currently. I think when we ended it, we were at last time was 195. So we've gained 15 subs in a little over a week. It's pretty crazy.
Big step for us, man.
Yes, it is.
And we're all very thankful for all of the support that everyone gives us. Here's to 400. Here's to
400, 600,
yeah.
whatever. Multiples of 200 to 2.
Here's to 5 million.
That's we're not gonna thank you guys at all until we get to 5 million.
You know what? Why are you so slow? Pick it up. I need 5 million right now. Just kidding.
Whoa.
We love each and every one of you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here.
Let's get started.
I think we have to start off with our first episode of last week, which was Identity Crisis, which was basically an Emery Carr episode.
I know. Was that any of our guesses as to who the Identity Crisis episode would be about?
Nope.
I mean, we were saying Crosshair Tech, Cody, Quinlan Voss.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned Wolf Ventress. Lots of options there. Instead, Emery Carr, and I gotta say, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Very much. What'd you think of the episode?
I mean, I thought it was really great. Anything that has to do on Mount Tantus, you know that it's gonna be a banger episode. Essentially, I'll go back on my words that I'm about to say in just a moment. That in season 2, it was one of those moments where it's like, oh, if it's a Crosshair episode, you know it's going to be good. And I was going to say, if it's a Tantus episode, you know it's going to be good. But each episode in season 3 has been great, you know? I haven't felt like we've really lost time at any point. But this one was very good. Yeah. It was absolutely fascinating to finally be away from the batch in its totality.
Yeah. No Omega.
And no Omega, no Crosshair, no batch, And this was all about Emery and Scorch and Hemlock.
Yeah. Very cool.
We got to see a lot more Scorch. You know how much I love my boy.
Commander Scorch.
Commander Scorch, by the way. We got a name drop. We finally have, I don't think it's ever been actually spoken in the show that his name is Scorch, but now it is fully canonized. We've got it. No more source books, no more teasers about it saying Scorch. That's Scorch right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, odd honestly odd that Hemlock refers to him as Scorch, you know? Because like there's this whole thing about Imperials referring to clones by their designation numbers.
Yeah.
And you would think, as someone as desensitized as Hemlock, who refers to, you know, children as like specimens in his projects, that he would refer to Scorch by his chosen name.
Yeah, that is weird, actually.
I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. I hope we eventually learn more about maybe Hemlock's backstory, or maybe if he has a pre-established, you know, leadership or relationship to Scorch, maybe.
Honestly, Hemlock is far too interesting to not further explore after this series. I mean, I personally, if something happens, I don't see him. I'm like 50-50 on like whether or not he survives whatever happens in this season. But even if he were to die, I want to see more, like prequel. I want to see like Republic scientist Hemlock. You know, like there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, to be honest, he's one of my. I think we said this towards the beginning of the season when we were talking about it. But like Hemlock is one of my new favorite kind of Imperial villains.
Me too.
I really. It was interesting because it was, I think, before Identity Crisis, we had not had Hemlock in quite a few episodes. And we were like, where's it? We haven't gotten Hemlock in a little while. Something's coming. And sure enough, but with Emery Card kind of being the focal point, and the Force-sensitive children and bounty hunters that Finnick was talking about, the Class 1s kind of being the focal point of this episode. So I'll go ahead and go throughout the plot if you're down with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sweet. So we open with kind of like a cold open where this planet that looks very similar to Zepho, which I find very interesting, is there's this like kind of these marketplace. It's very Nepal, Himalaya inspired. And so there's this mom and her baby. And it's very cute until, of course, this baby is Force sensitive, because when are they not? And so
you see a baby, man, you know, it's gonna get kidnapped by the one dude that is specifically known for kidnapping Force sensitive babies.
It's like, I think Connor posted a meme and it was Shrek, and he's like, "Could you please stop kidnapping children for 5 minutes?" You know. It's so true though. Like we'll get to that in a little bit. He's barely in the episode, but yeah, this kid, of course, uses the Force. The town rats him out, or the family out, being like, "Hey, we could get some moolah."
Not just the town. I mean, like not specifically the town, man. Like
one guy.
It's this one dude. It is their neighbor, their next door neighbor. That he's like, "I got some information about a Class 1 bounty hunter." You know, like that's my alien voice. Class 1 bounty hunter, by the way. Interesting designation there. And who else, man? Who else but
our
Cad
favorite blue-skinned, red-eyed guy that's not Thrawn, Cad Bane.
Yeah. Our favorite Duros.
Yeah, and so he kidnaps the baby. Not the rapper, but the child.
So he kidnaps the baby.
Let's go.
He stuns the mom, right?
Basically he scopes out the place. The mom is kind of aware of it, and then he just opens the doors, blasts her with a stun, takes the kid. I think it's this droid Toto as well, which I always found very funny, because it's like, is that a reference to Wizards, or not? I almost said Wizards of Waverly Place. The Wizard of Oz.
He's had that little droid for forever, man.
Yeah.
Voiced by Seth Green, right?
It is Seth Green, isn't it? You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Cool little robot chicken connection.
Yeah, he's just such a funny little guy in comparison to Cad Bane, who is just so serious all the time. Seth
Green, another alum that's part of the Star Wars universe that was from the Scooby-Doo movies, that being also Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. as the seventh sister and Kanan Jarrus.
Yeah.
Very random,
right.
very random connection. But yeah. So of course that's kind of the catalyst for this episode. So but anyway, we cut back to Tantus, and this is something I want to talk to you about because I talked with Will and Tony, and I wanted to break this news to you. You were not on Dark Side of Secrets, and you may have picked up on this already, but we see Hemlock going through the screen, checking on kind of this little Clone X like minor part of the facility.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you know what I'm gonna say here, but we determined that the Clone X program, I'm almost certain, is the prototype for the Dark Troopers.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
Yeah.
That theory. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that was what they did in Legends too, right? Like some of the first Dark Troopers were clones.
So interestingly enough, so in Legends it was actually the opposite. That the Dark Troopers started off as robots and then became people in suits. But in canon, it's the opposite, where they started out as people and then they turned into droids eventually.
Man.
Because you hear Moff Gideon in Mandalorian say like we've perfected the Dark Trooper program by taking the man out of the suit. So it's interesting.
How ironic, you know, for the clones to be like they're not turning them into droids, but like clones essentially being replaced by droids when they were so much superior to droids in the Clone Wars.
Basically, the dead giveaway of them being the Dark Troopers is, of course, they've already kind of got their black outfits and black and red ships and stuff. But the biggest thing is that when he's scrolling through the tablet, both at this part and in later on in the episode, right after he talks to Tarkin, one of the helmets literally straight up just looks like a Dark Trooper helmet.
He's got like a staff too or something, like some kind of
Yeah, they've got the Dark Trooper one with the helmet is like fuzzy, but they show the helmet, but then they show the next one, and that one has like a different helmet design. They all have slightly different helmets, which I guess adds up with Bad Batch Season 2, where that one Clone X had a slightly different helmet than the one that's been in this season. So I guess it's showing that they're like experimenting with the design and the armor a little bit, maybe. But yeah, they have like that staff.
I think these guys are gonna get sicked on the batch, and whoever ends up storming Mount Tantus. I think that's gonna be like a emergency thing, because in the episode where Clone X2 kidnaps Omega, or Omega gives herself up, Hemlock had said the others are not ready to join you yet.
Yes.
Because he's like, why have I been awakened? Why am I only being activated? He's like, well, the others aren't ready yet. There are gonna be more. And after seeing like those scans on his data pad, I think they're gonna be a bit more various instead of uniform.
Yeah.
And I mean, just imagine the potential of which clones are under those masks, because we have 3 episodes left. I'm gonna say after Juggernaut today. After Juggernaut today, we have 3 episodes left, and we still haven't seen Cody, and that really bothers me because Cody went AWOL, and it's a lot. I think it was probably a lot easier for a clone to get away during the mishaps of Order 66 and deactivating your chip, instead of a clone going AWOL during the height of the Empire. So I'm really worried that Cody got captured and is in the Clone X program now.
Yeah.
That would really bother me. It would break my heart as well. But I'll get over it.
We see in that chamber, we see 4 pods, I think, which makes me think that he at least has 4. I mean, granted, we don't know how many, but he's in that surrounded. There's all these pods around him in the kind of this almost tower-looking thing inside, and it seems like there's at least 4 more Dark Troopers that are cooking.
Simmering.
Yeah, exactly.
We got some more Dark Troopers in the oven.
They're like, "Oh, Dad, are my Dark Troopers ready yet?" "Not yet, son."
Wait until they're golden brown.
I guess in this case, just dark.
Wait until they're burnt as hell.
Yeah. So, it's pretty cool. So this Dark Trooper, I believe at least in this episode, is it in this episode? Yeah, it's in this first episode at least. The Dark Trooper is activated and goes after. Oh, I think they mention it in. I can't remember if it's in this one or the next one. Essentially, the Dark Trooper goes after Sid at some point. But I believe that might be the beginning of the next episode. I think actually what's happening is so I think that's in the next episode. But in this one, he's looking at the pad.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's kind of all over the place, and I'm sure you guys are all caught up, and that's the price we pay for being a little bit late. But but yeah, he's looking at the pad, and then it basically what happens is Emery Carr is like, I want to take over as chief scientist. And he's like, okay, cool. And so he kind of shows her around. And so the first thing that you think is like he's going to take her to what Palpatine saw, right? The vault. Yeah. But then we realize that the vault is a little bit bigger than just that one specific section. And so they take her to another part of the vault, which is a room filled with 3 Force-sensitive children. That nobody seems to know about except, I guess, Nala Se, her now, and Hemlock, and then a few scientists that are up there monitoring them. And what's interesting is that these kids, obviously we know they're Force sensitive, but it seems like as if their families or whatever maybe volunteered them, because they don't act like as if they were kidnapped. Like at least Eva doesn't. She's like, when can we go home, you know? And granted, she's little, she's impressionable. Maybe they just convinced her, like, oh, we're just taking you, like your parents, maybe they lied to her, you know? But yeah, maybe that's the possibility then, now that I think about that, I guess. Because Jax, he's a little bit wiser, where he's like, he wants to get out. He knows what's up.
He's like, dude, I got to get out of here, man. But then there's also the other one that like hasn't said a word.
The Pantoran girl, yeah.
Just like keeps doing her, you know, like puzzles and stuff like that.
She's very... observant is the word I would use.
Yeah, like I think she's just kind of, you know, yielded to whatever, you know, to just this.
Yeah.
I think she's pretty much just like yielded to the whole thing, you know, whereas what's his name? Like you said it was Jax. Jax wants to get out while the kid Eva is being friendly. Like she like, so one doesn't know, one does know and has given up, and one knows and is trying to get out. So it's like it's a big difference there.
Yeah. I guess like three different parts of it.
Emery is almost instantly very clearly bothered by this.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't realize, but she says something. I mean, later on, when she receives the youngest child from Cad Bane. But you can tell throughout this entire episode, she's very much bothered. Hemlock is like, you know, trying not to limit personal interactions and things like that. But clearly, there's a lot we have to learn about Emery, she ends up talking to Nala Se at one point, kind of a little bit later on, and she's like, I didn't know that, like, basically was kind of mad at her for being like, you know, there's these children, and Nala Se was like, I tried to take care of them as the best I could, like this was not something that I wanted, but Emery Carr is like, they're children like I was, which is very interesting. It's like, okay, so she's kind of been through this too. Like she feels for Omega and these kids because she went through that. And listen, at this point, she's gonna turn. She's gonna turn on them.
She's gonna be the ace in the hole. You know, she's gonna be the turncoat. Just throughout this entire episode, there is like constant contention between Emery and Scorch. And I love how much attention Scorch is getting, man. But like, he is like full on, you know, I'm following my orders. This is how it's, you know, gonna be. But he's pretty much like a secondary main character in this episode, because like he follows along with Emery almost everywhere that she goes. Yeah. And I just really love that dynamic between the two. And so I'm wondering, I'm going to say when, not if, when Emery ends up, you know, flipping sides, is there going to be like a moment with her and Scorch where, like, you know, Scorch, like I don't know, because like people are saying like, man, we're giving Scorch one last chance, man. Like maybe there's some goodness left in there where like, I don't know, he could do something. But I mean, up until this point, we have shown no like willingness to cave to any sort of emotion from Scorch.
Yeah.
Except for expressing anger in letting them get away from Tantus to Hemlock. He was like, but they're escaping. Like he was very clearly upset with Hemlock letting them escape. And so I feel like, oh man.
You know what's funny?
Oh my God! What? Go ahead.
Well, Jax tries to break out a little bit after this, and so I'm kind of fast tracking a little bit through the events because it's basically, she ends up going with Cad Bane. She gets the baby, and of course, Cad Bane is like, she's asking him all these questions, and so he's like, you asking all these questions gives a lot away, more than you think. Basically like. Quit caring so much, but anyway, what I thought was Jax breaks out. He looks at the padlock and everything, and there's that point of contention between her and Scorch, and of course they knock him out. And I was like, this is not the first time that Scorch has been okay with shooting children, because in Geonosis with the babies, on Republic Commando. You're just killing those things. That's a straight up war crime, but
yeah, for sure. Well, I just kind of made this connection in my mind that like, I mean, what if Scorch is so intensely focused on making sure he carries out his orders to the letter in a no nonsense way is because he lost Sev, and maybe the way that he's processed that is that. Like, it's because he was so lenient and nonchalant and aloof during missions. So maybe he took that and he's like, now I have to follow orders. I have to be, I have to be like Fixer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I'm building up my own character development there, and I think like that is the most sensible reasoning for me as to why he's still following this along, other than inhibitor chip still being in effect.
Yeah. It's interesting with the inhibitor chicks. That sounds like that's like the evolution of Chick Hicks from Cars. Because like when you think about someone like Cody, where I believe his chip was fine and he defected, I guess maybe the variable of whether the chip affects the person is from clone to clone. But it's interesting because granted, the game is technically not canon, so we can't always bring that into consideration. But at the same time, like Scorch was the most aloof, wisecracking kind of least by the books clone in Delta Squad, right? That was Fixer, and I would say Fixer and Boss were like the top two that were like they were go-getters, right? Whereas Scorch and Sev were a little bit more on defiant side, I would say, not as strict,
more deviant. Yeah.
Yes.
They know what they're doing, right? Like there are members that worked on Republic Commando that are working on this show, and there has to be some sort of acknowledgement there because they have to know why they chose Scorch to be their guy.
It's
because
very specific, right?
Yeah, because if you want that dude to fulfill all of those roles, like I think Fixer would probably be like the perfect pick for Hemlock. And don't get me wrong, I love Fixer. Like he was my personal favorite for a long time, and in some instances I'm like, oh yeah, Fixer, I love him. But I think he always was, pro order, pro like doing what you are being directed to do.
6'2".
Well, exactly, because like he's like a more intense version of Crosshair. It's like we're soldiers, we follow orders, right?
Very intense, yeah.
Yeah, and you would think like, if you want to put in a commando from that, to do this, why not just be that? So there's a reason here. Whether or not this is actually going to be explored, I don't know. Like the closer we're getting to the finale, I personally doubt it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I will die on the hill of these Scorch theories, man. I'll keep going with that.
With it being inherently a clone show and about clone defiance and things like that, Scorch is the one thread that I'm like, it would make sense to give him a little bit of a tiny story compared to people saying with like Quinlan Voss and Ventress. Like that's a different story for a different time that's not really pertaining to the Bad Batch, right? That's a Path show or whatever. But Scorch is obviously tied to Hemlock and Carr. So I hope we do get something with him, but it's just, lately, I'm just like, Scorch is just not my Scorch. And not that in a way of like, he sucks or like, this isn't the real Scorch. It's just like, he's just changed, It's not the Scorch that I know and love. And it's kind of sad. We've always talked about that, even before we started this podcast, of being like, it sucks that like the one clone commando from Delta Squad that we see, that you and I both love, is completely reverted to someone that we don't even really recognize.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the Scorch is a lot of people's like top 5 clones, because like we all love Scorch. He's arguably, I mean, he is the funniest character from Republic Commando, and he was one of the first instances where we show very strong personality from these clones. I mean, honestly, like Republic Commando in general was like kind of like the gateway for that, because
I believe
originally
that was what George wanted for that game, was him to be like
100%.
Give them character, give them names, give them personalities, color.
Yeah, the game was originally meant to be shipped with them being like shiny commandos, like just white, and it's just going to be, like no funny lines or anything like that. But George was like, they give them character. They're supposed to have their own personalities, give them colors. And I think like what we didn't know is that he was probably cooking with Clone Wars in mind at the time.
Yes.
So if anything, we have talked about this before, that like Scorch being like this as we see him in Bad Batch is just exemplary of like how much the Empire has taken from us, and I think, that probably is the reason why they chose him, is just to show us how bad it is, and just to make us hurt, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, Fixer would make us angry, right? But Scorch, like, it's like a betrayal.
Come on, man, come on. Yeah.
Because you want him to succeed, right? But
yeah.
No.
Yeah. Man.
Anyway, about the episode.
Yeah. Watch us cope for Delta Squad, but yeah, I mean, basically, like the rest of the episode, like I already mentioned, Jax tries to break out. He doesn't. He's punished. He's not killed, but he is incapacitated. Eva gets mad at Carr because she asked, said that Jax wouldn't be punished or whatever, wouldn't get in trouble, but the Empire, obviously their procedures said otherwise. And so, towards the end of the episode, basically, and also, like I said earlier, she ends up getting the other child from the beginning of the episode from Cad Bane and Toto and everything. But yeah, basically she's sitting there and she's swiping through all the children, and she sees one of Omega, and she immediately thinks of the Straw Tuca doll that or Straw Lola, or Lola, as I believe it. No, not Lola. Straw something.
I think it's Lola.
Is it Lola? That's weird, because when I think Lola, I think of Leia's droid from Kenobi also being called Lola, but I guess two things could be called Lola.
It's like poetry, it rhymes. No, I guess it actually is Tuca. Yeah. No, wait, what?
Is it Straw? I think the name is Lola, but it is technically a Tuca doll, right?
It is a Tuca doll, but it's named Lula. Yeah.
Lula?
Lula. Yeah.
Oh, Lula.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Lula was a Tuca doll owned by Wrecker. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it used to be Wreckers. That's so cute.
I forgot about you that. Can see it in the first episode of season 1 for Bad Batch.
Really?
It's in his room. Like he gets back and he sits in his seat and he grabs Lula.
I love Wrecker, dude. He's such a kid.
It's just so sweet that he gave that to Omega.
Yeah, Wrecker underrated for real.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so she ends up swiping through these pictures on the tablet, and she sees Omega, and so because Eva is upset with what's happened with Jax, and obviously still wanting to go home, she ends up getting the straw Tuca and leaving it at Eva's door, and of course Eva picks it up very, very lovingly. She doesn't. They don't hand it to her directly, but she leaves it at the door, and Emery is watching. As she picks it up, and that's really the gist of this episode, to get more into the humanity, of course, the operations on Tantus, but the humanity of Carr. It's a really good episode.
Didn't she do the exact same thing to Omega, right? Like she left it back behind for Omega. And like I don't know, I just think that that's really sweet. But what is really interesting to me is just that she kept it, you know? Like she didn't have any idea of, you know, when she was ever going to see Omega again, but she still kept that doll.
Yeah.
Whether it was, you know, for her or for Omega, you know, not really sure.
I will say I did speak out of turn. You were right. The CX does appear in this episode and does ask Hemlock. It basically mentions about Sid, where he's like, I found the Trandoshan, and then linked to Fee. But I think right before that, Tarkin and him, and dude, Tarkin is the biggest hater of anybody who is doing a program that he's not in control of. Like, he's always like, I'm like, Tarkin is so naggy, bro.
Well, Tarkin is literally the in terms of like non-emperor Imperials, Tarkin is like the king of crawling your way to the top by taking, you know, things from other people, and
he
like
gets
by
it how
like
it works, right?
Backstabbing your way to the top. So he's like I don't understand all of these funds going to Mount Tantus, director. You know, like and like getting all like pompousy and stuff.
He does it in Rebels as well with those two Imperials at the end of season 1, and he brings in the Grand Inquisitor and orders the Inquisitor to kill them. Like, Tarkin is always like making, like you said, climbing his way and stabbing people in the back to make be the top dog.
He took the Death Star project from Krennic, you know, you know, and he's but what I think is so funny is that it's kind of like a little bit of comeuppance there, where like Hemlock is just like, you know, like you'll know what you need to know.
Yeah,
you know,
I love how Hemlock is just like, you're not gonna get to me. He's like, well, maybe I can help, and Hemlock's like, the money's all I need.
That's not necessary. I only need the money, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you ready?
That is our little guest star of Mortis.
That's my baby girl Taz.
For audio listeners, Cole has a cat, and she is beautiful, and I love her.
I don't know. It's so great that he just gets shafted like that.
Yeah. But yeah, seeing Tarkin was a very nice touch, and I believe it's Steven Stanton does his voice. It's always it's really cool to get those little connective tissues from the other Imperial factions. I'm still holding out hope for maybe Thrawn or Gideon at some point.
Well, we could talk about Thrawn a little bit later.
Later, yes. It's funny. We'll get to that when we get to that, but yeah, that's basically the end of the episode, leaving off with Eva getting the Tuca and seeing the pride that Emery has, or maybe that she's won Eva back a little bit. So yeah, that's the end of Identity Crisis. Do you have anything else to add about that episode?
Just a great episode. I really enjoy the score whenever they step into the vault.
I was about to say that, dude. Kevin Kiner's score for everything Vault, Tantus, every like science stuff is so eerie, but like I can't help but like find myself, I'm like getting in a trance of like,
I know, it's like,
you know,
it's uncomfortable. It feels very sterile, you know. I think that was just the presentation for that whole episode. Very well done.
Very good.
And now we're back to the batch in the next episode, and as we thought,
yeah, you called
the bad happened. They show up. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make this one pretty quick because it's basically the beginning, and then everything bad happens, and then the end, and more bad stuff happens. So I'll make it pretty quick. I think we do start with actually the Clone X finding Fee. And getting the coordinates for her ship, her flight log, which I found very interesting. I want to talk about this a little bit, and I don't think it means anything. It could just be coincidental, but I do find it interesting that they don't actually meet, but Fee kind of has, when the Clone X sneaks onto the ship, she almost has this like second sense that someone is on the ship, right? We know that Fee and Tech had a connection, or at least she had some sort of connection with Tech, and I'm like, it's weird. Again, a little bit of credence. I'm like, is this Tech? Like, are they setting up some sort of interesting connection? Granted, they don't actually meet or talk, so I'm very 50-50 on the matter, but I'm curious what you think of that intentional meeting in a way.
After this episode, I believe it is absolutely tech. Like
you think so?
Yeah, I 100% think that it's tech. When we're talking about this specific moment, when I first saw the episode, I was like, dude, does Fee have like a sixth sense? Like how could she know that someone's there? But the more I think about it, as we have been consistently told, very like in a lot of like very recent Star Wars stuff, the Force works through everybody.
Right.
And everyone can there's always a little bit of it kind of pushing through people, even if they don't realize it. And when Fee kind of like looks over to the ship, with the thought that someone's there, I'm reminded of a line that Vader says in A New Hope when he's sensing Obi-Wan, and he says, "I sense something, a presence I haven't felt since," and then he trails off.
Yeah.
I 100% think that this is tech. Specifically because later on in the episode when they storm Pabu, the orders that Clone X2 gives to the stormtroopers is to search every domicile until you find her. There has only been one other person in the entirety of Star Wars that has said the word domicile, and that is Tech.
Is that true?
Yes. Yeah,
wow.
he said domicile before. I don't remember if it was season 1 or season 2. I'm not going to take the credit for finding that out. That was like that was like someone had called it out on like Twitter, and they showed the scene of like domicile, of course, referring to house. Yeah. And only Tech says that. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And I will say though, in this episode and the previous episode, actually, they did a much better job of changing the voice modulator.
He sounds more like Crosshair.
Well, here's the thing. Like, what I've noticed is that, like, in the last one, it was more like, the way that the modulator was done previously in, like, the last two-parter that we had, I think, where they stormed Rex and Echo's base.
Yep.
That Clone X had a voice modulator, but it was more or less like D. Bradley Baker doing a voice that was like heavily filtered. Now, though, to me, it sounds like D. Bradley Baker doing multiple different iterations of clone voices. So like a Tech voice, a Crosshair voice, and a Rex voice, and then they're merging them all together and then like, throwing them into a filter.
That is I didn't think about that.
Yeah, re-listen to those scenes. That's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like multiple different clones layered over each other. Yeah. So that way you can't find it out. And I was like, see, if they had done that from the get-go, then I would be less privy to saying it's tech. But you kind of, he really only had one voice before, but now it's like so much different. I really like the way that that's done though. But yes, I think it's tech. Because you know, right? Whether or not he's gonna be changed, like whether or not they bring him back by the end of the series, I don't know. Hard to say. But
I tend to agree with you, but again, there's part of me that I really just don't know. I don't trust them, and so it's hard to say.
Yeah, I will gladly eat my words. Yeah. It will be a pleasant surprise if it's not Tech. But I'm not sure how much weight would be put on the series if it was someone other than him. Just given how how the show's keeping X2 alive, and with all of these lines and this screen time, right? I feel like the only way to let that pay off would be, at least in like a more emotional way, would be for it to be Tech. Or what Tech becomes, right? Again, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't end up being able to bring him back if he is that clone. And that would be really depressing, but I think it is what used to be Tech.
We know they're not afraid to go depressing. I mean, the fact is, if they want to go really dark, right? Crosshair, say he sacrifices himself to get Omega out, and then Hunter and Wrecker end up dying as well. And then Tech being the only one that lives, even Echo maybe dies, right? And then Tech being the only one that lives, but he's turned to being a bad guy, and it's just Omega left.
Well, I mean, again, as I said last time, if they put like the rest of the Bad Batch into the Clone X program, and then it's just a absolutely terrible force of
what that reminds me of when people speculated. I remember there was speculation on this that both for Rogue One and for Rebels that the cast of both were actually the Knights of Ren. Do you remember those theories?
Yeah. I was someone that ascribed to the Rogue One theory.
The Rogue One, I was down. Yeah.
Because that was like very, very close. Like all of the Knights of Ren, like they fit different archetypes that were just, these people that were just, Rogue One. But it didn't end up being the case. I mean, ultimately, I think it
ended up being just nothing really.
Absolute losers, I guess. Yeah. With a garbage truck ship.
Yeah, their lore was way cooler in the comics, and that would have been sick to see. But that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, we know when we did our speculation before the show came out, or the season came out, I should say, we speculated like Scar Squadron, right? Could that be a thing?
Still entirely possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not put it past them if Scar Squadron was like just the same template,
right,
that they used for the Batch.
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer, personally.
Yeah, I mean...
Especially because they're literally called Force 99, right?
Yeah.
So
it's clearly an homage to that, even if they don't become it. Like, they'll probably tease it. Like, the fact that it's not only did the Batch, not maybe necessarily the Batch, but Tantus being the origin point of the Dark Troopers and things, and that kind of science experiment, and then also, having these super enhanced stormtroopers would be...
Oh my god, wait a minute. Okay, what if, like... So the last episode is called The Cavalry Has Arrived, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if they managed to get Tech back into shape, before that last episode, and the cavalry that is arriving is Scar Squadron, and it ends up being, like, the antithesis, like two teams like going up against each other, like parallels of one another.
It plays the trailer music from the movie Us. I
don't know. Like, I just think that could be really cool. But then again, like, it's just more Cole theories, man.
It's the closer we get. I mean, and we'll get into it in Juggernaut. But the closer we get to the end, I'm like, is this the end? Like, it doesn't feel like it. I'm like, I don't feel like, okay, when you think about Clone Wars Season 7, right?
Yeah.
Technically, if we were going by Clone Wars Season 7, we would be in that final arc right now, right? We would already be with Juggernaut, that's episode 12. Juggernaut would have been the first episode of the Siege of Mandalore, right? And when you got it felt like the end was approaching, This doesn't necessarily feel like that, and I know we'll get back to Point of No Return in just a second. Granted, Point of No Return does feel like a weird verbiage here, but does feel like a turning point.
Yeah.
It's just we have such little time left, and I'm like, we have so much to cover.
Yeah, we still haven't met back up with Rex and Echo. We've got 3 episodes left, really. I mean,
crazy.
I mean, unless they pull something like they did for the first episode of Bad Batch, where it's like over an hour,
Yeah.
Then I don't know. Well,
I will not complain.
I will not complain. I will be there. We'll see, man.
Yeah. Well, so back to Point of No Return. Fee, Clone X. You think it's Tech? I think maybe. Again, I don't know, but maybe. So anyway, we go back to Pabu, and basically, again, very good visual storytelling, because you pointed this out with the Ventures episode of it being overcast. Now it is the sunset. We start with a sunset and the sun is going down, right? Very good visual storytelling here. The Clone X does find the coordinates to Pabu and goes into that same cave. You're not gonna lock down the cave after you figured out Ventures could get there to be like, hey, maybe we should have just some people down there. He goes into the exact same cave and just makes his way up, sneaking up to up the mountain of Pabu. But yeah, the batch is departing, and they're saying goodbye. I believe it's Tony likes to call him Fat Mace Windu, which is Shep is his name, which I think
Shep.
is
Homie Shep. We love Shep.
He is a bud. He is a good guy. And I forget his daughter's right. I forget her name. But it's
is it his granddaughter?
Is he that old?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, Omega and her are friends, and we haven't really seen her in a little while. But they do get to say a goodbye.
She is Shep's daughter. Her name is Liana or Liana.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Lyana.
Okay, that's very close to. This is such a random thing that I remember. And I know you remember it too. But Jyn Erso's code name in Rogue One was Lyanna Halleck, but it was Lianna. That was the name she was going under when she was in the Imperial prison camp.
Yeah, and then Lyanna's last name is Hazard. So
how do you spell similar. That?
Like Hazard, like a
just Hazard. Okay.
Yep.
Hazard.
So Lyanna Halleck and Lyanna Hazard. I guess it's like a commonality there.
Jyn Erso in Bad Batch. No, I think she'd still be really little.
Baby.
Yeah, she'd literally be like a toddler. But
actually, I don't. Would she be alive?
She would be. Well, because I guess it really depends. You see Coruscant in Rogue One, and I believe, what is Jin's mother's name again? Lyra?
Lyra.
Is it? Yeah, Lyra. I believe she's pregnant with Jyn, but they also keep it. I think they're in Republic officer things, but granted, it's still that transition point of Bad Batch where like the Empire could have already been started. So either way, I think she literally might not, like, she might only be a few months old at this point. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because Rogue
One is...
Actually, no, yeah, never mind. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I was like, Rogue One takes place during A New Hope, so like she'd just be a child and like around that time, but then I forget about the time skip and
Yeah, I think from when we see her when she's a kid, the Empire is fully the Empire, right? They're still TK troopers at this point in Bad Batch, so I think, and she's maybe like 6 years old or something. I don't know. It's hard to say, but at the very least, she's at least 18 in A New Hope. But she's probably like maybe more like early 20s, I'd say.
I love how like just off the rails we get so quickly as soon as we bring something up.
This is just our normal conversations with Star Wars.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Clone X is, well, I guess Omega says goodbye to Liana, and she places the Tuca doll there, the real one, not the straw one, as like and Tex goggles. And
Tex goggles in their vault of artifacts.
Yeah, which is really good. They're never getting those back again, by the way. Well, maybe Omega when she's an adult goes back, but
what was that thing that Omega had said? Like it was a really like poignant thing, like about putting that down and about like why Liana was like, or she was like, why do you want to leave this? And Omega she said something along the lines of like, just we were here,
real quick.
Just as like it's just like a reminder. I don't know. It felt so sad to say. It's like, we were here, we existed, kind of thing.
Yeah. Let me see right here. She says, Pabu was the first place that felt like a home. This way, a piece of us is still here. So just sentimental, So yeah, which is it's true.
I'm so sad. I'm upset.
Well, it only gets worse, folks, because Pabu at this point, the Clone X sneaks up, finds her, and then blows up the Marauder. Joins the Hall of Fame with the Razor Crest as goated ships that get absolutely obliterated.
Why do they keep doing that, man?
Dude, I saw it and I literally went, "Is there no peace among the Star Wars?"
Yeah, the Marauder gets blown up, and Wrecker saves Gonki diving into the water and passing out.
Yeah, gets knocked unconscious.
He gets knocked unconscious, and Pabu is stormed by legions of TK troopers.
Yeah, TK troopers. The CX bosses ship around, and they basically at this point there's a lot of just running around with Hunter trying to get another ship. So there's a really cool point where he like gets on an LAAT and he just bodies these troopers. Unfortunately, he gets I think it gets shot down by
dude, the CX trooper kills the pilot with one shot, and it goes down, dude.
Crazy.
That's absolutely nuts. But I will say, before that time, Crosshair and Omega see this gunship going haywire, and Omega's like, "Is that Hunter?" And Crosshair's just like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah.
Like he just immediately knows that that's him. I just think that's really great.
Hunter right before that as well was Sam Fisher from Solid Snake or whoever it was. Like he was like taking out TK troopers with stealth with ease, and I was like, man, I kind of want like a Hunter like video game, dude. Like this would be sick.
He's elite, dude. A Bad Batch video game, like 4-player co-op, 5-player if you want.
Would go crazy, dude. I mean, I'm thinking like Borderlands meets Uncharted, like would be crazy.
It's sitting right there. It's sitting right there, Disney. I'm leaving it in your hands.
It'll never happen.
It's not happening. But
but yeah, I mean, things don't go well until eventually Omega realizes that the only way they're going to get out of this, or that people will, these huts they're going to get incinerated by these flame troopers. She's like, I got to turn myself in. So they make a plan, right? She's going to give herself up, and Crosshair will shoot a tracker on the Clone X's ship as she flies away.
Yeah, originally when Omega is posing this idea to Crosshair's like, no, like they're just gonna take you back there.
Yeah.
And Omega flips his own words from the beginning of the season back on him and say, like, think about the mission, Crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is more than just about you and me. You know?
Really good moment.
It shows us how far they've come. Right.
They're the focal point of this season. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But of course, you're like, I mean, and I immediately, when Crosshair was like that, I was like, yeah, she's just going to end up getting taken back again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And Crosshair misses the shot.
I know. They were set, the way that the season was being set up was like, they knew that we were all thinking this is going to be when he makes the shot, but he misses. And it breaks my heart, man. He's not ready yet. He's not ready. And it just really hurts.
Yeah. And I will say, I think he would have been able to make the shot if the troopers didn't catch him. Because like he's about to shoot it, and like he has the thing is those little darts, like they have a lot of weight to them. It's not a blaster bolt. They don't have like near infinite range. They have weight. So, the ship was already like up in the air starting to take off as he even got to make the shot, but he was primed and ready to go until the TK troopers started firing at him, so he had to turn around and shoot at them quick.
He got flanked. He took care of him really quickly, though.
He did. It was pretty sick. Yeah. Crosshair is like, when he is at his best, I love seeing him like just take out dudes with ease. It's so
great.
Again, God, a Bad Batch video game would go so hard, dude.
It would.
I feel like it's the perfect kind of group of characters to have for a video game in Star Wars. Especially if you're going for a co-op experience. But God, maybe one day, I don't know.
I'm leaving it in your incapable hands, Disney. you can handle it, maybe not.
I don't even know who would develop that, but yeah, basically that's really, I mean, that's where the episode leaves off, is that we Crosshair and not Crosshair, he's misses the shot, and then Clone X and Omega are in the ship as they go back to Tantus, and Pabu is left much worse than it was beforehand.
Yep. I'm
gonna check my phone because I forgot that I have a little bit of notes on my phone, but I don't remember. Yeah, that's all I got. I was just like, and you sit there and you're like punching the air, just like, dude, come on, like really, like.
The whole punching the air visual is just so funny to me.
Anytime
you mention punching the air, I just think it's so funny to me. Like, I'm imagining you watching the episode just going, just trying to get your anger out on the atmosphere.
I know. I literally was like, just slumped in my chair of like, bro, come on.
I was locked in during that episode though, man.
Yeah, like, it was great.
I was there.
Do you have any parting thoughts on Point of No Return before we jump into this week's episode of
shit? That's all I have to say. I think that's literally what I said when the credits rolled.
Yeah.
Because we had to wait a week for the next episode.
Yeah.
I was literally just like, I was just like, shit.
Yeah.
I did like the stressed toddler move where you basically just go like just like throw your hands up and like walk around. But now we have Juggernaut.
Yes.
The episode for this week.
Fun episode. I really enjoyed this week's episode.
Yeah, lots of really just unexpected stuff.
Yeah.
There. Like, I'll just go ahead and get it out there. I didn't expect to see Rampart ever again.
No.
Like, I thought he was done. And I mean, personally, like, I wish he'd stay that way because he sucks.
Yeah.
But
he still sucks in this episode too.
He still sucks in this episode. He is still like a grade A a-hole,
Yeah. So, he's no Callus. All right. Callus is my boy. All right.
Yeah.
He came full circle. Rampart is still in prison. Like,
he's like, I don't understand your language. He's so terrible. He's so terrible.
Preston, dude, I have it on my notes again. I said it before the episode, but I was like, no way, it's Bo Kuna, because it's the same voice actor.
Oh, that's what you meant.
You didn't get that? Yeah.
No, I didn't get that.
Guys, this week we had Bo. Yeah, I didn't actually realize that till after I played Jedi Survivor that I was like, Rampart is the same voice actor as Bo.
Yeah, I never noticed that.
Also, Wolf from Sekiro in the English version, as well as Charles from Red Dead 2.
And a whole lot of other stuff. He's a great voice actor.
Yeah, he's also usually sometimes clones and stuff like that. But okay, I have one little thing, and I think you've pointed this out before, and maybe I'm understanding it now. So this episode opens with Clone X bringing Omega back to Tantus. And Hemlock quickly takes her and immediately is like, we're going to take her for testing. But I noticed that when there's these doors specifically, when they go through into like the main chamber, he's making this scan, and that's a sound out of Republic Commando, right? There's like a door scan sound, and it like kind of has like almost this like high pitched like warbling. And I'm
So it's used a couple times, I believe. So the chief one that I remember is that is the invisibility sound that the Bothans use in OG Battlefront 2, 2005. That like
really?
When they go invisible, it makes that sound.
Okay.
And then
you're right. That's cool.
Yeah, and then the sound is played in Republic Commando when you get like some blood or something on your visor and it wipes it off.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
It's a commonly used Star Wars sound effect. I wouldn't be surprised if it was used in the movies, but I honestly can't say where. Those are the two that I remember the most.
Yeah.
Just the electronic warbling.
Yeah. Wow, you nailed that.
Well, there you go.
Oh, because
Ben Burtt.
I mean, did Ben Burtt? I mean, the sound. I remember watching an entire sound breakdown in the behind the scenes for Republic Commando because I was so invested in the game, because that's just how I was as a kid. Like when I love something, I wanted to invest every piece of content that I could, or digest, I should say. And I remember listening to them doing the sounds of like getting the fleshy sounds of the Geonosians or stuff like that, or like the oil spilling. It was cool, but okay, cool. That relieves me of a question, but yeah, immediately Hemlock takes Omega to the chamber to Emery to make sure that double confirm this test was right.
Imagine if it was wrong. Like for a moment there, I was like, what if it just doesn't come up?
Yeah,
again,
you're like.
Hemlock starts punching the air.
This gloved hand. Yeah, that's really the opening, right? And she ends with Emery being like, Emery's like, but I'm glad to see you're safe, Omega. And she goes, am I?
Yeah.
And Emery looks at her like, really, like a good question of like, she's not really safe with them,
Yeah, there's like a specific moment right after that, like when they scan her blood sample again, they and it comes up positive. Like Emery like just kind of slowly looks at Omega, and like she has like a worried look on her face, like she doesn't know what she's about to do. And then Hemlock walks in immediately, and so like whatever Emery might have done in that moment, like potentially falsifying the sample, it's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what I understand once they get the blood sample, and we get, basically this is at the beginning, and then we get the batch stuff, and then we get the end. Do you want to just go ahead and talk about the end? Might as well just kind of talk about all the Omega Emery stuff before we hop to the batch.
Sure.
Just keep it simple.
Yeah, they don't intersect with each other.
Yeah.
Stuff happening at different times.
Yeah, it's which is cool because you kind of get all of them at once. But yeah, I mean, basically, it is true. It is, her blood does take M-count transfusions. And we get a little bit of lore after this from Hemlock, which kind of, I think, just again helps narrow down why Omega's blood is important. I have a quote here. He's like kind of expounding to her as he takes her to the vault. And again, I was like, oh, monologuing. I was like, oh, is he going to take her to the Sith part of the vault? But didn't happen. But he says, I have it quoted here. Did you know an individual's M count cannot be directly replicated? So basically, the whole gist is, I guess if you take a Force sensitive's blood, the M counts will degrade, right? And you can't just straight take it. And I guess maybe we've known this. So Omega's blood allows a safe passage of that blood, a combination of that blood to a body and where the midichlorians can stay transferred. And so now we kind of see the puzzle pieces where they've said they've tried before and everything's basically failed to no avail. But that's why they have the Force sensitive children. So now I guess they're going to presume, she sees that there's these other kids in this vault. So now there's 5 of them total, actually. There's Jax, there's the Pantoran girl, there is Ava, the kidnapped baby, the baby, and Omega. So all these kidnapped children.
Just imagining just the rapper in there, just with all these kids. He's just like, what am I doing here?
Someone has to make that edit. But yeah, I mean that's really kind of how the end of the episode wraps up. We'll go back to the batch and everything, but yeah, we understand, like, okay, I guess they're going to start running tests with the Force sensitive children to make sure that their blood and Omega's blood, when combined, the M count transfers,
Yeah.
So this kind of is pushing it in a little bit of a direction of we're getting closer to maybe what just what the end game is for the Empire, but again, more of the plot being pushed. But yeah, now we go back to the batch. And this, I will say, I have one critique with this episode, and that it is that the plan that they do here is, so basically they're like, okay, we have no way of. I'm surprised Hunter was not actually mad at Crosshair. Wrecker was a little bit more irritated with Crosshair than anybody, because he was like, you let her go. Like, why did you let her do that? And he was like, she wanted to, like, and that's a little bit of a squabble there. But then Fee shows up. But they're trying to make a plan of like, okay, well, we've got to figure out where Tantus is at, and we have no way of doing that, which has been the plot for the whole season, really, is trying to get to Tantus. And Crosshair just drops this bombshell of like, well, I kind of have a way of figuring out. And it's like, he does justify it. They ask him, they're like, why haven't you mentioned this sooner? And to be honest, like, I get his reasoning, but at the same time, I'm like, it does feel a little more on the, like, the writers didn't want him to reveal this until this point kind of thing. And I'm like, that's my only critique with this episode is I'm like, I get his excuses were basically like, he didn't really want to go back to Tantus, And he's like, and it's not really a direct way, like it's to get to Tantus, you know, it's finding a person who may know how to get to Tantus, you know. But again, that would have been worth relaying to Rex and Echo, who were actively trying to get to Tantus. So again, I get he doesn't want to go back, but I was just kind of like, okay, that's kind of awfully convenient. But
it's not.
whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely like I had the same moment. I was like, okay, this feels very convenient. I feel like that's a little contrived there, but like I also, in the same way, I also do understand, because like Crosshair, as we know, he likes making decisions that are pro Crosshair. And it's really only through Omega that he's started kind of, you know, being a lot more caring for other people and like, stuff like that. So it doesn't really surprise me that he's like, man, I don't even know if Rampart knows. Whatever, I'm not going back there. There's no way in hell. Because he knows that if Omega wants to go back there, then he's gonna have to go with her, right? Because you know, so like I kind of get that, and also I think he suggests it as like he doesn't even know if Rampart knows. He's just like, I might know someone who might know, you know.
Yeah, I guess you make a good point with him. Like maybe now he's more invested because he wants to go get Omega, right? Like he didn't want to go back
Omega's there now.
Yeah, that's the catalyst.
Yeah, because Omega had asked him before, like, well, now we got to go back, and he's like, well, I don't care about going back. We're not going back there. And it's like, so, yeah. But I will say, since you already mentioned that Fee came back, Fee like shows up through this like mechanism, right? And they're like, how'd you get past the sensors? And she's like, well, there's this little like cave under the shore, you know, that I go through. So again, this is the third time that this cave has been used.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and I was like, lock down the caves, my brothers. All right. Yeah. Like my brothers of Camino. What is happening? Like,
but also surprisingly to me, the Empire straight up left Pabu. They're not occupying it. They don't care.
Well, when we do see the opening shot, the Star Destroyer is above the Pabu, but I don't think has it left.
Well, I saw the gunships like going up to leave, so I was assuming that maybe like they had just left.
I mean, I guess that makes sense because that was what Omega wanted, was for them to stop raising the city, so they got what they wanted, you know.
But unfortunately, I mean, even if the batch ends up getting away, unless they manage to destroy the entirety of Tantus, which I really doubt, and destroying like those navigational records, they can't go back to Pabu because they know that they're going to be there. You know, so
Pabu is a wash.
Pabu's a wash.
Yeah,
Pack it up, guys.
And they don't have a ship, but they have Fees, thankfully, which makes sense. But I'm still upset about the Marauder, but that's fine. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
maybe they'll just get a like specialized N1.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that meme that Will made where they were like, he was like, the Marauder was destroyed. He's like the Bad Batch next episode. And it was just this like extremely elongated N1 with all of their heads and all of the pods. But one of them was missing for tech.
Oh, yeah. This guy.
But yeah, so they basically, they're like, all right, well, we got to go find Rampart, and he knew that when he was in the Empire, he got put on one of their prison work camps. It is remind me, it is Crosshair. He knows what planet he's on. He just doesn't know exactly where he's at, right? Because
he was like, I think he was like, he was taken, because he mentions Erebus. He's like, he was taken to a prison planet, Erebus.
Okay.
It's Fee that's able through one of her contacts to get landscape data. Like geometric data. Yeah.
And so basically they're like, we can get to one of the checkpoints, we can scan in one of the terminals and find out specifically where he's at. And really, I mean, this is just, there's a couple little moments I want to talk in here, but this is basically just one big old heist, which is really fun. It reminds me of? It reminds me of a combination of what we see the Rebels do with Jyn again in the beginning of Rogue One, but also that episode in The Mandalorian season 2. Yeah,
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Because there's turbo tanks in that, right?
Yeah,
they fight on
those
it.
are the transports. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say, this episode has like one of the coolest maneuvers for a ship in Star Wars that I've seen so far. Is that in order to bypass sensors of getting onto the planet, Fee turns her ship off.
Yeah.
And they just go into free fall, like breaking into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And only until they get really close does she turn the ship back on and like let it go.
It's kind of similar in The Force Awakens when the Falcon, they light speed through the shield and then like come out of light speed. It was like that, but they literally were just like, she was like, oh, the sensors are going to detect us. And she was like, just turned it off the ship and just straight down.
Or, you know, in Force Awakens when they're being chased by the TIE fighter and they go up and turn the Millennium Falcon off and it like falls back down.
Oh yeah, so they
turn around. It. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for really cool ship maneuvers. So
yeah, special. It's very, very dicey. Yeah, but they get to the planet. They check in with a little bit of the. I did think this moment was really funny when they get to this bridge. For better or worse, there's these TK troopers and they're talking. They're like basically like slow day, and they're like, yeah, maybe next time we'll get to see some action. And immediately they get like, they're just like, ah! Just like, you know, classic TK is just getting dunked on, which I'm just like, it's so funny. But they find out where Rampart is at, and he was at one place, but then they wait for him to get transported to this mine. So they hijack a turbo tank, a Juggernaut, as the title is called. And it's pretty cool the way they do it, because there's only like 2 TK troopers driving it. That part where Wrecker like just punches that dude in the face, like full force.
Dude, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that was something I wanted to bring up in this episode. Yeah. Was like when that guy got punched, like I like audibly like very loudly laughed and then caught myself because I was like, dude, that guy is dead.
Yeah, he's neck completely snapped.
He's dead. That's like getting punched by Master Chief essentially.
Yeah.
Like I 100% think that guy is dead.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
They have no qualms at this point killing TKs, so I am not surprised if that dude's neck is completely just detached from his spine. But yeah, so they take over the turbo tank, and they do free everybody, but they don't free Rampart. Rampart's basically like, Crosshair.
Like,
go ahead.
He's like, all right, so you're not gonna kill me, you're not gonna free me. You need something.
Yeah, and so he's immediately. He puts himself in a position to try to bargain where he's like, I'm not going to tell you anything until you get me off the planet, which granted, the Batch has to get off the planet already. But I'm like, I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm mean for this, but like Rampart kind of sucks and Crosshair is not a nice guy. I'm just surprised he didn't just shoot him in the leg and be like, That's
what I thought he was going to do too. I literally thought he was going to shoot him in the leg.
Yeah, because he was like, he literally says, as soon as Rampart's like, he's like, you've got to do something for me first, and Crosshair says, well, you're not in a position to bargain. I thought that immediately. I was like, yeah, dude, he doesn't have any leverage. Like, he's in prison, right? The only way he gets off the planet is with them, you know? Because, like, what they should have said is, like, you tell us the information right now, or we'll leave. I mean, they do say, like, we'll just leave you here. Well, they already get up back and they're like, we'll take you back to that planet right now. But, of course, Rampart is like, I won't tell you anything till you get me out of here or whatever. I guess Crosshair's obviously being a little bit more reformed, but I'm like, listen, the Bad Batch are not like, they're not Jedi, you know? Like, just pop one in his leg and be like, I'll just do it to all of them, you know? Tell me what I want.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, but then like there's a slight thought there where I'm like, maybe they just want to be extra careful because as of right now, Rampart is the only like tiny lead that they have on Tantus. So if he like shoots him and it ends up hitting an artery or something and like he dies or what, I don't know. Even though it's a laser, right? But just in case, you know, because like if he died, that's it. I mean, up to Rex and Echo, I guess. Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
And haven't heard from anything from them in several episodes.
That's crazy to me. I'm like, okay, their forces are dwindling. Now Omega is captured.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Like, I there has to be some sort of explanation, right?
It makes me so mad that Echo is not more in this show. I know that it was made very clear in like season 2 where it's like, okay, he's leaving the Batch behind, he's joining Rex now. But then they keep showing Echo. Like he keeps coming back in missions, you know, with the Batch, and like, what I'm saying here, it's not that I don't want Echo. I want Echo. He's like one of my favorite clones, and so I want to see more of him. I always feel like he's been shafted throughout the show. There was a couple shots, like especially in the Gunji episode, where Echo is actually forgotten. Like the whole crew is running and Echo's just not in the shot, and I'm like, it just broke my heart. I just think he's had the least time to bond with Omega. Like, he's had the least character development, and like, I know it's about the Bad Batch, but like, he's a part of the Bad Batch now.
When people, I mean, I'll be honest, it has gotten to the point now, Bad Batch has gone on for so long that when I think of the Bad Batch, I don't think of Echo. Like, I don't even associate him, because when I think about the show, there's only one moment where they're like, where one of the Martez sisters is like, is there an Echo in here? And he's like, yes, I'm Echo. That is literally the only moment I can think of the Bad Batch and the Echo being together and being like, oh, look, it's Echo. I can't think of any other moments, because he's just always in the background, barely interacting. And then he doesn't really get any character stuff until when he goes off with Rex. And then obviously they keep bringing him back in. And I'm like, that's a cool development thing for him. But then it's like, okay, we are now at a crux where like, immediately call up Rex and Echo and be like, hey, Crosshair thinks we know a way for they've got Omega, but now we think we have a way of getting to Tantus. Why don't you bring your ship, Echo and Gregor, and come help us, right? Yeah. Nah, like, and listen, I'm sure I'm sounding like a hater right now. Like, I'm not that mad about it, but I do hope we get some sort of explanation. Like, again, maybe it becomes a thing if they don't show up to the final episode and it's been Rex and Echo and Gregor. They're really going hard on assembling as many clones as they can, and if that's the case, I'm fine with that, right? Yeah,
I really hope that they're cooking with something, because like they're doing something. They are doing something, so we don't know what that is. But I mean, I think the last thing that we heard was like they were basically, licking their wounds, like gathering more resources and stuff like that.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, like in season 2, like I remember, like it was like either the episode before or that specific episode, Echo's character was being like strongly focused on, and I was like, they're about to let him go, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep.
And then they let him go. Like,
that's what I will
right
say.
after
That's what the Bad Batch writers do, and this isn't necessarily a fault of them, but like when you start to get close to a character, say season 2 with Tech, and maybe a little bit of Echo, and now this season with Crosshair, which I mean, we got Crosshair development last season, but now linking Crosshair and Omega together. When you start teasing these things, you're like, something is bad is going to happen, because they want to hurt you. Yeah, that. See you guys. Mortis FM is done. I am burning the shirt.
I'm now the sole owner of Mortis FM.
The sole proprietor of Mortis FM.
Yeah, so I really hope that you want to know what breaks my heart the most. You want to know what grinds my gears? Is that on the Star Wars website, Echo's character file lists him as a former member of the Bad Batch. Which is just like, I don't know why they hate Echo so much.
He was he literally was never even in the Bad Batch long enough to be a part of them. It was Clone Wars season 7. He joins the Bad Batch, and then by the time it's done, like by the time we get to the actual show Bad Batch, which is after or during Order 66 or whatever, like again, you don't really get any time for him for Echo and them to develop.
He leaves in season 2, right?
Yes, and
so
like
he gets
quarter
season
season 2 or third quarter.
At least he gets season 1, and there are some great moments in season 1, like where they have him pretend to be a droid to sell off so they can get
I remember that
to borrow with that guy, and he's like I'm worth more than that, and Hunter's like don't worry about it, we're gonna get you back, and so like he has
I forgot about that.
he definitely has his moments. Like I still think that he's a great character. It's just for some reason he's being shafted, and it's either because 1, they can't devote enough time to all of the members, or 2, Clone Rebellion show, which that's
the closer we get to the end, the more I think that's going to happen, which like I'm mostly on board with. It's like one of those things where they keep teasing like, oh, now this is really the end of the clone stuff. Now this is really the end and I'm like, you can't keep getting away with it. Like, it just feels like, I'm like, man, it's never ending. And let's, like, I'm glad to get more content. But but I was certain when they were like Bad Batch season 3 is the final season. I'm like, okay, this is the end. Like when we leave off here, that is the connection to Rebels, and that still might be the case. You know, I don't think they've said the runtimes of all the episode. It would be cool if the last episode was an hour long, like the premiere was.
Yeah. Well, another thing I'll mention is that the Bad Batch, they very clearly, like, they're ready to settle down, man. Like they want to do their own thing. Omega specifically is really the only one that, you know, wants to go back to Tantus and free those clones, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they decide to, like, the Bad Batch settles down at the end of this, and then, like, this is meant to lead into the Clone Rebellion show, which will eventually lead into Rebels, you know, because we're having that, like, rebellion connectivity there. Bad Batch kind of feels like that, like, transitory thing here, because it originally was just the Batch, but now it's, like, the Batch and, we're going up against the Empire, but, you know, like, there's a whole, like, rebellion starting to brew. I don't know. We have options. We have options.
We do have options, yeah. It's intriguing. I don't know. Like, again, we'll get into the next season of Tales here in just a bit, but it makes me wonder. I'm like, what is kind of their roadmap for animation in general? But back to, I guess, the action part. They do end up getting Rampart. I mean, to be honest, this whole action thing, I won't get down into the nitty gritty of it, but like, I just really enjoyed it because I felt like if I was a kid, this would be a scenario, you know, that I would do like, as a kid of being like, oh, they're breaking this guy out. They're in a turbo tank. Oh, they're going right at each other, you know, head on. They're shooting the missiles back and forth, and then they jump over the turbo tank, and then, you know, the LAATs are on there and they're shooting them down and stuff, and they're running out of road on the cliff. Like, it just I love when Star Wars or just action pieces in general just capture that childlike spirit a little bit of like
it's very Star Warsy.
Very Star Warsy, yeah.
It's a mobile action piece. Time to go mobile, you know, like and the controls break too. I mean, it's a lot like Solo with like the escape that they have to, like, you know, get away from the train.
The train, I immediately thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, but when Fee, like, is landing her ship close to the Juggernaut and, like, they have to, like, jump off and get away, at the time Rampart's unconscious. They stunned him, and I was like, I was like, Wrecker was carrying him, and I was like, Wrecker, please throw Rampart. That would be so funny. And then he just tosses him, and you just see you just see Rampart's essentially a lifeless body just slam against the ramp, and I thought it was so funny.
It's great.
Yeah, but they get away, and then they end up getting an atmosphere, and Crosshair's like, all right, got you off the planet. Tell us what we need to tell you. And Rampart's like, not that simple. You know, and he mentions that I might know someone who might know.
Yeah. And that's kind of where the Batch part ends, and I'm immediately like, okay, well, who do you know then? Like, who knows?
Who does he know?
I don't know. It's like, it's just such a rabbit trail thing. And I guess who the
heck does he know, man?
Maybe that was also another part of why Crosshair was kind of maybe, because even Crosshair was like, I know someone who might know because he took, you know, Omega, or he's been there before, right? But like, I'm trying to think of characters in the past that Rampart has like interacted with. I also forgot earlier when we were talking about all the clones and stuff that there's still Hauser as well. Hauser's around.
Hauser is with Rex and Echo and Gregor. That's the only 4 that I know that are still alive in like the Rex rebellion. As for who Rampart would know, I mean, I'm thinking of it from like an Imperial connection kind of route, because I can't imagine Rampart. Well, I can't imagine Rampart has friends, but I also just, if he knows anyone, it's got to be like within the Imperial web. I don't know. ISB?
That's what I'm thinking. Is I'm like, is it an ISB person?
We're gonna see Gideon or something. This would be wild.
It's interesting because it's like, I'd love it to be one of those characters, but I'm like, then again, how would you get that information out of them? You know, like, I don't. Well, Gideon or Thrawn doesn't seem like people that would just, you know, even under the most extreme amount of pressure, like give up that information.
Next episode's called Into the Breach.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, maybe like heavy Imperial territory. Do you think they go to Coruscant?
Man, I mean, I love any time Coruscant is like the setting of Star Wars. So
yeah,
that would be wild. I mean, honestly, like when Omega was taken, I was starting to think like, well, what if they like go try to find Ventress again, because you know she has her ways of tracking people, and if, as we have guessed, that she uses Quinlan Voss through the guise of psychometry, maybe they could track Omega to Tantus, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think that seems out the door. So I have no idea. I don't know. Rampart doesn't have friends. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. And if he had friends before, he definitely doesn't now.
Yeah. He is on everybody's hit list. I mean, listen, I'd love to see a Rampart like kind of turn around a little bit, just because my favorite thing is when Imperial people then get shafted by the Imperials and then they realize, oh, the Imperials suck. I was stupid. I'm going to change now. That's like, which I know is a very popular arc, but I'm like, it makes me happy to see it because I'm like, good, you're not stupid.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you're not Lieutenant Nolan, you know. But Rampart, he did say we're in this together now, which is interesting. Like, I mean, does he now like have a personal vendetta that he wants to see through? Wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. But yeah, as for who this connection is, I have genuinely no head empty, no thoughts. I cannot predict.
Boda Kuna, they talk to each other.
Boda Kuna.
That would be crazy though, because Bode actually does work, and he's not showing up in this show. But
who the heck would know about Tantus other than like Thrawn? You know?
I don't know. Maybe because immediately I'm like,
he just takes him straight to the Emperor. I found the badge, and then he gets shot.
I mean, immediately I think Cody. Like,
yeah, but like
because Rampart. So Rampart said like, basically the mission ends in season 2. And Cody dips, right? He goes off and he's like, oh, Cody went AWOL or whatever. Rampart could have been lying, right? Maybe he did try to like be defiant and Rampart locked him up, you know, and sent him to Tantus or something. Again, that's a stretch. That is literally the only inkling I have. And even then it is a stretch. But I'm like, if he knows that Cody got turned into a Clone X, like, but then again, how would you get to Cody, right? So again, it doesn't really make sense.
I have a feeling it's probably just a new character.
Maybe. Sid.
Which,
oh God.
Sid, oh my God. Get this shit off, man.
I do want to say that I hope, I'm not gonna lie, I hope Clone X killed Sid. Like, I don't think he did, but I also do think that gives credence to the tech theory, because it was directly Sid and maybe Saw Gerrera that got tech killed, basically. So definitely. I do think it's So I do think it's funny that like, and I would have to be honest, I wish we would have seen Clone X interrogate Sid. I would have rather have seen that than him get the data pad from Fee, because I think all of us would have been like, yeah, all right, maybe I kind of like this Clone X guy. Yeah.
Listen, man, Sid sucks. I'm not a Sid fan. But you know,
if you
whatever.
are a Sid fan, don't talk to me. Don't come by my house.
If you are a Sid fan, I get it, because she appeals to the skullduggery type of, you know, the galaxy in Star Wars, and like those kinds of characters are a dime a dozen. And even Sid showed
Hondo
some.
Ohnaka sweeps.
Dude, Hondo kind of sweeps. Yeah, he really does. But that's also because we haven't really, I mean, other than like a few moments, we haven't had any redeeming moments for Sid, and like this is a very big betrayal that like really ticks us off.
What if the target that Rampart does know is no, he wouldn't know, dude.
Well, we got to say it now.
I was gonna say, I was like, what if it was Hondo?
Oh man,
it also could be well, no, the bounty hunters got dropped off elsewhere, but it could be a bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter would be cool, but I do not see how Hondo Naka would know where Mount Tantus is, which is like literal maximum security Imperial knowledge.
Yeah.
That would be wild. I don't know.
Immediately, I was like, well, maybe like Bobo wouldn't know. I did have an idea but it just, I don't know. We don't know. Have a good day.
Mortis FM is over. If we can't theorize about anything, then the show ends.
Well,
that was
we have plenty to theorize about. If you have any parting thoughts on the last 3 episodes of Bad Batch, I am ready to move on into our next little segment. I don't have anything left other than I really enjoyed this episode, and again, every week I keep thinking I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get an idea of where we're going, and I don't, and that's fine. I'm intrigued, but I don't know.
Maroc is Ezra? Question mark. No.
Speaking of Maroc,
back in the old days of the Ahsoka show. Man, that's talking about that.
Maroc was Kanan. People thought that.
Or people that Maroc was Star Killer. Or that
Jade.
Or that Maroc was
a rock.
1960s jazz music. Maroc could have been anything, you know. Honestly, I don't really have any parting thoughts. You know, I'm and then I'm now going to say my parting thoughts. I'm excited. I'm excited. It was good. I think this was maybe on the lower end because, you know, it just we're getting so close to the end that I'm like, I need more, right?
Yeah.
And so to open a side quest that leads into another side quest, it kind of feels like Skyrim Radiant quests of like, you know, talk to this person and then talk to this person, talk to that person.
It's those. It's the quests of like go get the horn of Jurgen Windcaller sort of thing, where you're like to progress the story, or like go find Esbern in a cell to progress the story. Yeah.
Right. But you know, I'm not gonna, you know, go against my own words. You know, don't miss the forest for the trees. We'll enjoy the ride. It was still a really fun episode. So
that was my thing. Is for me is I just found it very entertaining. And you know what? One thing I think stands out to me of why I found it entertaining is, no offense to the big monsters, but there was no big monsters this week. It was just Bad Batch fighting Imperials. You know,
the big monster was the Juggernaut, I think.
Yes. Yeah. It's true. I just
or the bridge. I don't know.
The bridge. Yeah. Maybe it was that fat Imperial guy. What's up with all these fat Imperials, dude? Like, they're all in trench coats too. I mean, it's kind of cool, but also like
living large, you know.
In the Empire, you live large, baby.
I just realized that was a pun, which makes that even funnier. Living large and living while large. So,
I thought that was what you were planning. Wow,
no,
you could have just rolled with that. That's funny.
It's okay. I accept when I didn't make something up. You know.
It's okay. It's okay.
But 3 episodes left. Excited. Can't wait. No more 2-parters though. No more 2-parter weeks.
Yeah. Maybe that last episode will be an hour. Hopefully.
Maybe it'll be 3 hours for Bad Batch Season 3. No.
Maybe it'll be an hour for every letter that's in the Bad Batch.
Whoa.
That's... How many letters is that? Is that like 9 letters? 10? No. 12? The 12. 3.
No,
bad
11.
3. Bad... Yeah, 11. 11-hour finale. You heard it here, folks.
Stay tuned. Bad Batch Season 3, 11-hour finale. Who's gonna show up?
That would be longer than the whole show. Like,
yeah.
Just yeah. But Cole, where could they find you?
You can find me at the.cosmic.drifter on Instagram. And on YouTube, if you want to check out my YouTube channel, The Cosmic Drifter.
The Cosmic Drifter on YouTube. You should. That's the more important one, in my opinion.
Yeah, what can I say?
You can follow me at Schradester8, but more importantly, I run the account like I say, but Mortis FM on Instagram or on TikTok, wherever, at Mortis FM, and especially on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're at. Please give us a like if you enjoyed. Say some kind words as well if you enjoyed us that much. And I guess I should make this announcement here that in celebration of our 200 subscribers, just as a way to, if you would like to support, if you like us that much and you want to support us, in the link on our link tree on any of our platforms, or on down below on YouTube is our buy me a coffee. And so you have the option of just throwing a couple bucks. I believe one coffee is it's like increment of like $2 or $3. Say, there was a point we made and you liked, and you just feel like you just got some extra cash, you can go for it. But literally, it's no pressure. You being here, you liking, commenting, even just watching, it means a lot to us. It's just, I wanted to create a way for people, if they did want to support us, take that next step. It's there, but it's no pressure.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we do this for free, but for the foreseeable future, we will continue to do so. So, if spare some change if you want, but otherwise, we're happy that you're here, because that's the most that you can give us. Like out of anything, that's the best is just your viewership. And so, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to me that we're at 210 subscribers. Like, I check my YouTube Studio app and I look at that and I'm like, that's something. And so, wow.
I mean, thanks for bringing us to 200, and here's so many more.
Of course. Cole, may the force be with you, and with you.
Always.